Good morning, everyone. How are you all today? This is Dr. Lynn Daniel coming to you today on my Lynn Daniel channel here on YouTube, my podcast. You know what? I need a name for this thing, so you all can put in the chat or down in the, under the video, what name you would like for me to use for this podcast. So today our guest is Dr. Kakali Bhattacharya. She is an award-winning researcher, educator, author, mentor. She is a full professor in the School of Human Development and Organizational Studies in Education at a university in the US. And Dr. Kakali is also an edupreneur. She provides mentoring services to doctoral students and researchers in her S2S Mentoring Groups. Dr. Kakali moderates the Qualitative Research in Education Facebook group, where she shares valuable insights into justice-oriented research and qualitative research methods. All right, so welcome, Dr. Kakali Bhattacharya. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm so honored. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so honored to share space with you. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for accepting the invitation. I know you're extremely busy, and this is such an honor to have you. I know you're going to just bless the audience, and they're going to leave prosperous with the information that you share. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself or share what you would like to share, because I know that you are now you're in charge of a publication or something, but I forgot to write that down. So you have so much to share. So
sure. Yeah, no, starting January, I am the editor of Departures in Critical Qualitative Research, DCQR, and it's a University of California press journal. So it's a pretty big deal.
yes.
And my latest, most exciting thing that I'm excited about is the organization that I would frequent as a graduate student, International Congress of Qualitative Inquiry. It is the flagship Qualitative Research. I used to go there as a graduate student, and this next year I'm going to be the keynote of that. So I feel like that's the pinnacle when you get to your flagship organization that you were attending as this wide-eyed, naive graduate student is now asking you to keynote it and lead it. So very, very fortunate that they have seen my work and they value it, because it's not status quo and it's not in the mainstream of qualitative research. So it just feels very validating. Yeah.
And the majority of your work now focuses on justice-oriented research and qualitative.
Yeah, okay. Justice-oriented was from the very beginning. We just didn't have those terms, So I graduated in 2005, and my research was decolonizing, because I was using decolonizing thinking, decolonizing ways of being, decolonizing frameworks, So I was, sort of disrupting that. And in disrupting that, obviously, I was disrupting racism, xenophobia, sexism, and many other forms of oppression that are interconnected. But at that time in 2005, justice, social justice, those things were not a thing, So those were just, you do the work, you make the argument why this work matters. But when folks started labeling it, then they started seeing my work, and then they were like, okay, well, then this is justice oriented. But I just did the work. I didn't need the label. I just did the work. I still do the work. I don't know that I need any label to do the work. The work's not mine to do. The work is divinely inspired, being done by me. So labels or not, it actually doesn't matter. I'm on this earth to bring a certain service to a certain group of people, shed certain light on certain issues. And I feel like that is a soul purpose, divine calling, and I'm the vehicle, the human vehicle through which it's getting done. So I've sort of like stayed away from labels, I don't need to be boxed in anything, so then I can be free. And then if my interest changes or expands, then it's not like limited by the box in which I put myself.
And so you help a lot of people, though, in your approach. So in the Facebook group, every Sunday, it seems like almost every Sunday, you are sharing awesome tips on how to do the qualitative research, how to analyze the data, all the whole steps. So, and the students in the group are benefiting from it.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
speak a little bit on that, how you're helping others with the research, and then you're mentoring them as well in your S2S groups.
Sure, sure. So the qualitative research group was something we started last summer. And when we started the group, it was supposed to just be like homework help for graduate students. And because I know a lot of qualitative research folks, I started inviting people, and it became more than homework help for graduate students. Now we have faculty, lots of very well-known faculty for their research, and they are all coming. And there's a lot of qualitative research groups on Facebook, but this one particularly is built towards community. Whereas everybody else goes into a Facebook group and they just just take in the information. They don't feel like they have to give something unless they have a need. Then they will post, I have a question or whatever. But I've become very intentional in trying to build a community. And so sometimes we would have to tell people, I expect you to be present and reciprocate, because the information that you get from people and the information that you get from me, I mean, there's a value of that information. And so if we're not charging you money for it, then we're expecting you to show up with your presence. That's what we're asking. So it's a very different flavoring of that. And we disrupt very culturally insensitive forms of qualitative research that may have been popularized already. So like, how recently somebody asked, a Black man asked about doing critical autoethnography. If you look at the thread, other than my response to it, everybody was responding with references that were outside that culturally situated framework. And even when he stated what his culturally situated framework was, people were still giving him tips that were completely outside his framework and asking him to cite more scholars that were cultural outsiders to him, frameworks that were culturally outsider to him, like post-structuralism, postmodernism, but he wasn't coming from those frameworks. So I want folks that are multiply marginalized to feel like they have a safe space when doing qualitative research in that group. And so I feel like I have to demystify some of the things that people have taken for granted, that these are like just the standard ways we do things and it's universally applicable. It's not. It's situated, but because qualitative research gets done a lot from predominantly white nations or white settler colonial nations, that it gets normalized as if that's the default, and it's not the default for all of us. So there are a lot of us that are multiply marginalized. We have made these arguments, but most of the educators in university spaces are not folks of color. We are obviously minoritized in those spaces. So depending on what access to readings you have, what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So I created the group to help people know what they don't know so that they could argue, because some people intuitively feel a discomfort. So this person who was posting, he was intuitively feeling a discomfort for folks challenging him from using an Afrocentric masculine theoretical framework for his autoethnography. And I wanted to legitimize that, to say, no, you're right in thinking that way, and you're right in feeling discomfort with the pushback. Here's some of the ways you can do this work with the pushback. And then the lives became a way for me to build trust with people. Like, if I am doing this, I'm not just this disembodied being that puts in these posts, but here's me. You get to see the background of my room, and it's like you're having a chat in my office, and we're having a conversation that affects everybody. And then if you want more of this, and if you want my support, then you can either come to my mentoring, and I'm building other programs now, like asynchronous small courses, like how to do a lit review and how to understand theoretical frameworks. Some of the things that I think people entering academia find really strange. I'm building some of the courses as my sort of love letter to people who are in a position that I was when I was in graduate school, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know that I needed to know that. So the conversations we have on Sunday, I come with some of the things I want to talk about, but I try to make it as interactive so people can ask questions. I can respond to the questions thoughtfully, meaningfully. I can talk about some of the things I offer, but nobody has to sign up for it if they don't want to. The lives will be there again the next week. And everyone feels like such a come from such a scarcity perspective. They want to ask, like, will it be recorded? Will it be recorded? I don't know how many times I tell folks, like, it's archived. You have it. There is no catch. I'm just offering these things to help you on your journey. There's no catch here,
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's just a rarity.
Yeah.
It's rare. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a part of the S2S summer group, and
Sure.
it was awesome. It was just phenomenal. It was life-changing. It was paradigm changing. It allowed me to get very clear on next steps in different areas of my life, with my business, my edupreneur business, with my research and publishing, And so can you share with us about the S2S and about your other groups that I know you have an upcoming, is that upcoming?
Yeah.
You have something coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So S2S stands for strength to strength or struggle to success, whichever way people want to see it. So I just put it as S2S, and people can name it or identify with it whichever way they identify with it, because I didn't want it to be only on the deficit path if it felt like deficit, because I think people have strength even when they're struggling. They have strength. Mm-hmm. So I left it as strength to strength, or if people want to see a narrative arc of strength to success or struggle to success, that's entirely up to them. But I just wanted to put together something where I would teach graduate students, independent researchers, educational consultants, faculty, how to do the work that they're really called to do without fragmenting themselves. And that's as simple as it is. And I had to gain a lot of clarity that is the thing that I do. The thing that I do is I put people on their purpose. That is the thing that I do. So if I could just distill it down to that one thing, that's the thing. I have intuitive insight into people's purpose, but I need people to help me in cultivating that insight. So in the program, which is an 8-week program that you've been through, there are certain exercises people do, and those exercises allow me to see where is their natural spirit leading them to. And so it opens up this sort of conversation channel, this sort of tuning in channel with me. And so I get to tune into not just what they're saying, but what they're not saying, their spirit, their energies, all of those things. And then I take that and I amplify it back to them to say, this is what I think you are doing. And folks create sort of like a mind map as a result of that to plot the things that make them really come alive, in everything. When they consider everything about their lives, what are some of the things that make you really come alive? And then we create a framework for them to do the work that they need to do, whether it be consulting, whether it be writing their dissertation, whether it be writing a book, whether it be writing a proposal, whether it be writing a paper, or whether it be figuring out how to prepare for tenure and promotion or just promotion. Everybody's agenda is slightly different, but what I end up doing is I end up helping them to be as successful as they want to be on the agenda, using this framework that we create together, co-create together, and everybody's framework is a little bit different. And then as a result of it, they offer me documents to look at through the time, and we look at the documents, and then towards the end of the program, we also create scripts for how to justify your work if folks come and push back or give you resistance or have criticism that are not merited, but the criticisms that are coming from a place of not enough knowledge about your work. Mm-hmm. And so we train folks to know how to respond to that, what might be a format or a framework to respond to that, and then through the program, I have a wellness coach who works with my clients in the program to sort of do wellness assessment. How are you doing? What's happening in all aspects of your life? And the reason I wanted to do that is because I didn't want us to continue perpetuating this notion of we're task doers instead of we're whole human beings. So we're not task doers whose task is to get tenure and promotion, or whose task is to graduate, whose task is to do this. We are folks of this background, this history, these challenges, these political, spiritual orientations, and all of that makes us who we are, and that makes us navigate the world that we do. So we can't pretend to not have that integrated into whatever it is that we do. So instead of fragmenting, I wanted to bring all of that together. So I have a wellness coach to work with my graduate students and a wellness coach to work with my faculty group or researchers group, postdoc group, basically. And they meet 3 times one-on-one. So the program feels heavily customized, even if folks are still meeting every week for 2 hours with me in a group setting. The program will feel customized because they get customized feedback, customized wellness coaching, customized spotlight coaching. So as a result of doing that, it helps me feel like I'm on purpose too. So by putting people on purpose, I feel like I'm on purpose too. And then I have a full year of support built in, and with no extra cost for all of them, so that if people need support, it's there. The structure is now built, they're there, and they can come get that support. But my next cohort starts in October. It's full at the moment. So my next cohort starts at the beginning of October. And then, I have very recently started creating a membership space that I'm slowly building. I haven't fully announced it to the world yet, but it's a membership space that I want to give my love and energy to the people who want to learn from me, specifically want to learn from me.
It's a good experience. I found it to be extremely helpful, and I found it to help me to slow down and focus my thinking on what I needed to do or what I felt I needed to do. It provided clarity. So that way I could say no to certain projects or no to certain things taking my time, and I could say yes. And by doing that, I found it felt like I was just getting more accomplished.
Yeah.
When I got very clear on, for my business, when I got very clear on my avatar, when I got very clear on, what is it that I'm helping them with, I just started accelerating. Time just, and that's needed.
I found, in my own business coaching, that was the biggest challenge. Who do I want to serve and why? When you have good clarity on that, everything else seems to flow, and it seems so intuitively easy, because I knew, once I figured out this is who I want to serve, and I saw that I was attracting a certain kind of people. I was attracting multiply marginalized folks to me. I didn't say this program is only for multiply marginalized folks. I never said that, but I was projecting it in certain ways, of course, that people received it that way. So that made me feel very meaningful and purpose-driven, because I've had these folks who are not getting support at their institutions from people that they are supposed to get mentoring and support and guidance from. And I was always hungry to help folks that, need my medicine too. So then I was like, okay, well, now I can do this. And I'm actually teaching folks who want to learn from me. I'm not teaching folks who are mandated to be in my class because it's a required course,
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Because even the interactions are benefiting from people choosing to be there and people willing to be vulnerable. And that whole process is just phenomenal. So now you've got something coming up, like a 3-day, I don't know what to call it, like a 3-day venture, huh?
Yeah, so it's on September 24th, 25th, 26th. It's a 3-day data analysis and writing retreat. So in qualitative research. So data analysis is potentially the one place where students are most stuck, because most places don't have, or faculty members too, most places don't have a lot of qualitative research courses that people can take. Maybe 1, 2 at the most. Anything more than that, the faculty have had to fight for that, and very handful of places have anything more than 2 to 3 classes. So what ends up happening is people don't know what to do with a lot of data. So they will have this data and they're like, where do I start? How do I do this? How do I write this? And writing up qualitative research is a very specific skill set where you don't want to sound flowery, but you want to have very rich descriptive details. And that's very nuanced. And most of us in our fields, unless we have like a humanities training in various social science fields, we don't have that training. So we know to write in a very technical way, clinical way, that sometimes gets read as very sterile. Like it doesn't inspire anybody for anything. It's just, here's just the facts, Whereas in qualitative research, you build relationships with the participants that you work with, and you want to express the richness of what came out of that relationship building. So people get to understand and walk in the participants' shoes in some way, since they didn't get to interact with the participants. That's a deep awareness skill set. Like you have to cultivate deep awareness of yourself, and deep awareness of how you relate with this other person, and then deep awareness of what you want to amplify on the page so that you can do justice to the relationship that you built with this person. And so I feel like a lot of people don't know how to do that. And I was getting a lot of sort of request, can you teach us that? Can you teach us that? And I can do some of it in the live, but the live is an hour, and it's a mixed group of people in mixed different positions. So I thought I had a month break between my summer end of S2S and my fall start of S2S. So I thought I'll just take one weekend and I will just do a workshop and I will help them. But we'll do a retreat. So they will have full days with me. And they'll have full days with me. I'll make it very, financially affordable. And they'll have full days with me, 3 full days with me, and dedicated time for Q&A, and dedicated time for applying what they learned. So they don't have to just learn, but they can apply what they learned.
Right.
So we have workshops in the morning, like 2-3 hour workshop in the morning, then private time of apply what you learned to your own data. So you work privately, and then come together and have a dedicated Q&A time so that they can ask all the questions that are coming up for them. So we do narrative analysis on the first day, traditional inductive analysis on the second day, and the third day is writing. So we learn how to do the writing, and then we do an open mic on the last day so people can read part of their writing that they have done. So we can celebrate, and it's really reasonably priced. It's like less than 1,500 for 3 full days, 10 to 5 p.m. So I wanted to offer it at a price point that if people really needed it, they could access it.
Right, exactly. And it's an investment.
Yes.
In if you're serious about your research, if you're serious about, what are you going to do with all the information, the data you've collected? How are you going to share that out into the scholarly world, right? So this is an investment. I found the S2S one of the best investments that I have made regarding my academics. So
I'm blessed to be in community with you. I feel so honored to be in community with you, and that you opened yourself up to me. I mean, I can't teach folks unless they open themselves up to me, and it's hard to know what is a safe space to be open that way, especially if you have history where those safe spaces turned out to be unsafe, and a lot of us have those histories.
Right.
So it's a assessment of each other, an assessment of the environment, of the people that are in it. And it only takes one person to mess it up, one person to mess that dynamics up. And I'm fortunate that we didn't have anybody trying to mess that up. And I was very, very fortunate that you opened yourself up. And so then I was able to reach you, because I was going, how do I help Lynn? What does Lynn need? And how do I help Lynn? So
Yes.
each week, my coaches, my wellness coaches and I would meet together and say, how is this person doing? How can we help them move forward? So I would carry the things people say to me the week before in my heart and like ask for guidance, not just from my wellness coach, but from source energy, God energy, divine energy, whatever you want to call it, and ask for guidance as to like, what is my purpose here? What is my service here to this person?
That's beautiful. Yeah, right. I'm very cagey. I think I I describe myself that way. I'm very cagey based on history and trauma and woundedness. And
Right.
so, but I'm aware of that now and I'm learning how to navigate that. And I'm also becoming more self-aware to see how I feel around certain people so
Mm,
that I can understand what my body is saying. And so this podcast here, I'm also running a series, this series here, the PhD edupreneur space, but I'm also doing a series about that journey to wholeness
mm,
and the
mm.
emotional brokenness that can be healed. Because that's what I wrote my book on. I'm going to
Mm.
self
Sure.
advocate right now. I've got my
Yeah.
book right here. So I wrote this book during, like, it was coming out because of what I saw when I returned to the classroom with after COVID just really, but when I went back to the classroom and seeing my students and talking to teachers in other teacher groups and hearing what they were saying, how you describe carrying it with you, this book, it was just in me. I just had to get it out. And it was healing to me. And it was a step in the direction of knowing what to do with my research, my doctoral research as well.
Mhm, mhm.
So all of these pieces, even though they seem like they're, two different areas or categories of life, it really can be merged
Yeah.
because that's a part of, like you say, don't fragment yourself,
Mhm.
bring your whole self to the research, into academia, so that you're able to navigate that place and help people in the best way that they can be helped. So,
Yeah, yeah. And academia is very toxic to many people, and a lot of people have a lot of different unresolved issues that they haven't sorted out. And so it creates a lot of very difficult engagement and relationships, and people are further hurt from that, and especially if they are carrying, and we all do, carrying previous experiences, trauma, wounds, and
mhm,
academia is not always a safe space for folks,
right.
and so I found that if I am going to help people do justice oriented work, I'm going to have to talk about healing,
Mhm,
because we can't do justice oriented qual or any kind of work that is just, you know, but pretend that, we're not needing healing from some stuff,
mhm,
so I wanted to make sure that the healing component was not only part of the wellness coaching that folks got in my S2S mentoring, but also in my coaching too, that folks would get that as well, so that
mhm,
folks know that I am seeing them in their wholeness, I am seeing them in their fullness, and I'm accepting, when they are showing up fully or when they are having struggled to do that, and I'm accepting both versions of it, because both are parts of that person.
right.
We're nothing if we're not contradictory beings.
I wondered, have you ever thought of your the professors who you learned under? Have you ever, like, talked to them in recent years, or have they seen or let you know that they are aware of your work? And I wonder how it will impact them.
Yeah, so my own advisor and my immediate professors in qualitative research, a couple of years ago, they nominated me for a career research award, alumni career research award. And so they did that. And so I have like a distinguished alumni career research award from the University of Georgia. So they have been aware of my work, and I have worked with them post graduation. And, my immediate advisor often calls me to write tenure and promotion reviews for faculty in their program, especially faculty of color in their program who go up for tenure and promotion. So yes, they are aware of my work. Now, to what extent they're aware of my edupreneur work, I don't know. I haven't really discussed it with them because it's my journey, and I've not asked for permission from anyone
Right.
else, and I feel so called to do this because I feel like I need to talk to prior versions of myself who at certain points in her journey needed some help but didn't get it and had to learn a lot of the hard way, through trial and error. So I thought somebody got to benefit from my hindsight. Like who's going to benefit from my hindsight? So this journey is less arduous for them and they can go further than I have gone, because that's how we create a field, create resistance, create new knowledge, create responsive knowledge, and create healing, and so I wanted people to go further than I have gone if I could collapse that time of learning. And so if they can learn if they're interested in learning from me and from my hindsight, then that's what they benefit. They don't have to spend a whole lot of time figuring out what is it that I'm supposed to do. I can help you figure that out in less than 8 weeks. What is it that you're supposed to do? As long as you open up to me too, then I can help you figure that out. I can help you figure out how to do your CV based on what your purpose is. I can help you figure out how to write with a scholarly voice that doesn't fragment you, and I can help you figure out how to clap back when people want to diminish you. I can help you figure out all of that stuff, and it may not be the perfect way, and you would have your own trial and error to figure this out, but you would start with a lot more knowledge and strength and empowerment and grounding and support and nurturing and care, and so that when folks come to unsettle you, it's not a thing. They can do whatever they want to do, but it's not a thing for you. Like, I see that. I see what you're doing. And you feel confident in your work and you know how to justify it, So I haven't gone back to them to discuss what I'm doing. And, there's some culture in academia where if you want to do more edupreneur stuff, some folks frown upon that a little bit.
Yes.
Kind of see it as you being too enterprising. Why aren't you staying in your lane? And, to tell you the truth, being a woman of color, situated in the top 5 public research university, being a full professor with tenure and promotion and everything, it's all the way in academia. I've gone all the way, and so my expansive heart says, what's next? What do I do now? And what do I do now can't be just in the zip code of what I do. I want to be more than the zip code in which I live, and so I want to help more people. And if I want to help more people, I want to do it in a certain way. And I want to be compensated for time, and labor, and primarily because I don't have children. So some of the funds that I get from my consulting is for nonprofit building, that I want to build a nonprofit for minoritized graduate students and faculty to do their research that is deeply purpose-driven and be funded for that instead of having to worry about finances. So I found when folks have access points blocked, they can't think of the world in terms of opportunities and abundance because they mostly have to deal with challenges. So there are infrastructures built for many people who are in a dominant culture category that don't have barriers to those access points, but a lot of us do. So what if I create a structure that takes away those barriers so that folks can begin to see these opportunities and begin to learn to think in terms of purpose and abundance, and they can also go however far they want to go. And what if that's what I leave behind on earth when I'm no longer here? This this access to opportunity and access to abundance. And so some of the money that I'm making here is going towards building the nonprofit, so that's what I will everything to when I go.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful work. I just really appreciate you being here today. I thank you for your time. I know people are going to be blessed by listening, and I really hope it helps the audience to get very clear on what they are doing in their research, what their goals are, and then they can begin to reach out. They can reach out to you. They can investigate the groups that you have, the S2S and the retreat that is coming up next weekend. And you still have room there? I know people sign up for your.
I have for the retreat, I have about 2 more spots left.
Yeah, they sign up fast for your.
Yeah, they do sign up fast. So I have about 2 more spots left. And 2 as in like 1 would be extra because I wanted to keep it small at a group of 10. So then I can do deep work. As you know, I don't do shallow work. I can do deep work with folks. So yeah, it's not that much. And then after tomorrow's live, I'm anticipating it will be full.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Bhattacharya. And I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Everyone, you all check her out. Go visit her website. What is your website? Tell them.
It's my name, kakali.org.
Okay. All right. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Be blessed. All righty. Right now.
Bye.